Alright guys, welcome. This is our iron farm. It's a new build that we're going to be throwing onto our survival server here in the next, I'd probably say a few weeks, months if it does actually take that long, depending on the amount of help that we get. This will actually help solve our wonderful and horrible iron needs. We all know that just due to some of the players that have been our main sources of iron having real life stuff to take care of, that we had to take matters into our own hands since we don't like to mine. Adventuring's one thing, but actually going down and just mining can be boring for some of us, so there's a solution: the iron farm. This will be able to produce 1,300 bars of iron every hour if built correctly. If not built correctly, it can produce, maybe 30 if you're lucky to nothing at all. So it is a very temperamental build due to the circuitry that's involved in it, but that's all easily overcome once we get it all tweaked out and working, which me and Matt have a little bit of experience doing from this prototype that we have. This design concept goes out to Tango Tech. He has put a lot of time and energy into villages, how they function, how they work, and how to integrate them into everyone's everyday needs. So one of them being an iron farm, which is one of his little specialties just from him playing around and exploiting the concept of villages and villagers in-game and the mechanics that are involved with them, which is what we're actually doing. Many of you have already seen our marketplace, which is kind of the intro to the village manipulation. This is where it really starts to take off and kind of shows you more of what you can do with villages if you know how to manipulate them properly. And due to him and a lot of his group that he plays with, their careful planning with circuitry and whatnot, you can see that there is a lot of redstone that goes into this build, and it is complex, I'm not going to lie. But anyway, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you a nice little brief tutorial on how it functions, so you kind of get an idea about it. And from there, we'll kind of hop on server side and see about building this thing up and taking care of our iron shortage that we have server side. So here we go. First step of the whole process is this wonderful redstone hopper clock. This is integral into the resetting of the villages for when it is not producing iron. There's a whole thing with falling out of range of it and the spawns getting all messed up, and when that happens, it doesn't produce the iron golems like it should, and it will actually auto detect this and reset itself. So when it's normally functioning, we'll have iron golems that drop down here, and they will fall into this water stream, flow along the water stream, and when they step on this pressure plate, dink, that will send a little redstone signal pulse saying, hey, farm's working, no worries, and shoot them down here to the kill box where they'll drop their iron. When it doesn't sense an iron golem down there, this clock, after a certain period of time, will then send a trigger through these music boxes, playing a nice little pretty tone, do-do-do-do-do, hey, we're going to reset. And it then goes into the circuitry where the magic begins to happen. This is how, this is the beginning circuitry on how the villages are actually created, which I'll give you a nice little brief introduction to on not village creation in and of itself, but how this build uses it. All of this circuitry will then send off a few different pulses, different directions, one of them going to this villager, which is normally when it's starting up in the air so that he cannot detect doors that are down below. When he drops down, he can then detect the doors down below, and we get a redstone signal that will then actuate certain pistons. I'm going to get to the outside so you can actually see what I'm talking about. We have these protrusions in the wall, and you notice up here at the top there is one block missing. And what will happen is this bottom row will fully retract, And that one block that's missing will allow sunlight to hit a block and allow this door to become a village door. It will then send a redstone signal, or actually in the process it will be sending a redstone signal pulse over to this side where it's missing 2 blocks. The bottom row retracts. This first block connects to the first village. The second block creates a second village. And that is actually why this this section of it is so far away. That way we can actually create different villages. If you want to know more about that, again, Tango Tech on YouTube will be able to answer your questions. He has great tutorials about it. We then fly over here. These 2 top pistons on the outside will retract. The bottom will retract. We have a nice little chunk error. And we'll then have the first 2 villages connect with the villages that were created over there. And we'll have 2 villages. The third one will create itself centered on the door down below. And this will continue to ping pong back and forth all the way along until it hits the very end and we have 32 villages. At which point all of the villages will then shift over to this side and we will have 32 villages all lined up along this nice magenta structure we have built. At that point we then start moving on to our roof redstone. As soon as it's done and it pulses all the way through, we'll get a redstone signal that pops up to these guys and it'll shoot its signals elsewhere. And what'll happen is over here we have an item in the hopper that will start shifting down in a time sequence of where it'll start pulsing these pistons open. Now when it does this, this piston will open up and right below it, it is open to, oh, there you go, you see a village. That is open to down below, and what will happen is working backwards from the way it created them, it will actually then start merging with the villages that were created over on this magenta side. And it will actually center the villages kind of skewed off from where we're going to want them, which are centered just right up in here. And it'll actually have them skewed to where they're over to this side a little bit. But that will be taken care of shortly, because once it connects all of those to the 32 villages over there, we then have 32 villages that are connected all the way along. Then what will happen is our villager over here will be pushed away so that he cannot detect the doors, which will no longer allow them to be village doors. And within 60 seconds, the villages will then all shift to the center here, where they will become 32 villages centered right here in the center. And as you can kind of see down below, on this server, this creative server, we're using mods just to make sure that we actually had everything working right with the redstone. That little box there is our iron golem spawn box. And when that's centered amongst these 2 pads, we will then be spawning iron golems on these pads, which will fall into our trench and start the whole sequence over again. Well, actually not. It'll keep the sequence from starting over again until something gets messed up and it'll auto-detect it and work on correcting itself out. So that's the functionality of it. And just from me flying around, I believe you saw quite a bit of redstone. I'm going to go ahead and actually kill this mod we have going. There, so that's what it'll look like on our server. You'll have no idea there are actually villages there, which is why we're hoping it'll all work out well. But you can see all of this redstone. It's actually structured in a very specific way. That way the villages actually open up at the correct times. Otherwise, if they don't, if you know, just 1 or 2 of these repeaters is just off, you'll end up with 3 villages instead of 32. With those 3 villages, you'll get you'll get 3 iron golems every 10 minutes instead of 30. I mean, right there, you just cut your amount of iron in half. There's a lot of complex circuitry down here, different mechanisms that allow us to actually build these villages. Due to this, I'm asking that no one mess with the redstone. Leave that to me and Matt. we screwed up just here on our prototype. We understand what screwing up means. Just having this guy off by 1 tick will actually not allow the build, or not let the build work properly. So, and that goes with all the repeaters. They're very, very, very touchy. If you would like to help with it, I'm not opposed to that. I'm never opposed to anyone wanting to learn more about redstone, so if you want to hop over while we're building it and kind of walk through it with us, I mean, we'll let you throw it down, just as long as we're there and help to make sure that it's all being built correctly. Because going through and trying to find where the issue's at is not fun, trust me, not fun at all. But anyway, that's where we're at. As you can see, this actual footprint, it is 50 by 24. I forget the overall height. I want to say it's 21, but I don't think that number is correct. But nonetheless, it's going to take quite a few materials, of which we will need. I've got plenty of stone, but the doors in and of themselves, this build requires, I believe it's along 700 some doors plus, actually. And that means lots of wood. We're also not going to just want it to be a nice stone block structure. We're going to kind of want to make it look decent. Still trying to figure out exactly how we want it to make it look, but we do want it up and running and functional first. Another thing for building it, we have, as you see over here on this side, and we'll probably duplicate it on the other side even though you won't be able to see it as well, we have a 20 by 30 blank area. And from me and Matt talking and coming up with ideas, we decided we're going to come up with a server logo, and that's where it's going to go. So if any of you guys want to do some pixel art logos that resemble our White Star server for our Minecraft comms group, feel free to upload some stuff to Facebook. If we get enough things in, we'll probably do a nice little voting session to see which one everyone wants to go ahead and throw on there, and we'll go ahead and put in a logo. We kind of want it to resemble the server, so something that makes you think of White Star and Minecraft and all the goodies in between. We might actually even start using the logo elsewhere and whatnot. So, nonetheless, back to the task at hand. This guy. So again, we're asking for lots of help. It will probably take us quite a few weeks to actually get it built up and operational. But once we do, we won't be having our iron shortages. So that's the plus side of that. So we are asking everyone to kind of help out with this, just due to the amount of time and resources it will take. So there you go. That's the iron farm. Hope to see you guys server side.